Welcome to Color Harmony. My name is Eric Francis. In this video, we're going to be talking about layering paint. So we begin with a drawing. We then redraw it on the canvas. We give it a number wash, and we're ready to go. So let's talk about layering paint. This painting took me 13 layers, or make that 14 layers to complete it. I usually need at least 3. I pushed myself to go further this time. This first layer is the umber wash. The umber wash serves as a foundation for the entire painting, but you don't really have to get very specific with this layer. It's really thin. I do it really quickly. I just want to lay out all the major details. What you can't see in these videos is that I allow the paint to dry in between each layer. So you just take a little break, or you bust out the hair dryer and dry it off and then start over. In this second layer, I lay out all the colors in a very general kind of way. We'll get to the specific stuff later. Right now you just want all the colors laid out. And I do this with a very limited palette. I'm only using 4 different colors. Later, we'll add 2 more midtones and a highlight, but I want to keep it pretty simple. In this stage, I completely cover the canvas with thick paint. Now I do this because I don't want the color of the canvas to show through. And when you build up paint like this on the canvas, it makes it easier to move paint around. In the earlier stages, the canvas was absorbing the paint a lot. What you're looking at right here is the first stage of me blending. If you want to know how to blend, click the link above. In this layer, I'm beginning to blend more. Plus, I'm beginning to draw out some of the more abstract details. Earlier on, we were more concerned with the general details. Now it's time to get way more specific. In this layer, we refine what we did before by blending it in. So it looks like here I've taken a huge leap. I've added 2 extra colors, one darker midtone and one lighter midtone. It kind of looks like a highlight. I blend all the colors in, but if you notice, it doesn't really look like it's blended that good. And that's perfectly fine. I understand that this is a layering process. A lot of this stuff will be covered up, but in the end, it'll all work together. In the previous layer, I had everything laid out the way I wanted it to. From this point on, it's just going to be a process of refining. In this layer, more refining. But during the painting process, I have to make sure that I'm checking the reference image to make sure I don't deviate too far from what it actually looks like. Because sometimes, or before, I used to have the tendency to bury my head in my work and just paint away. And then when I come out of it, it didn't look anything like the reference. So I have to make sure I'm constantly checking the reference. In this layer, I could stop right here and then say that it's finished, but it looks a little too plastic for me. It needs some texture. In this layer, we begin to add texture. Now I add texture by adding hatchet marks like I was making a drawing. I dilute the paint down a lot, and we're entering into the final phase of the painting. From here on out, it's going to be a lot of light washes. So in this layer, I go in and just add layers of light color to kind of soften some of the harder texture marks I add. And I add some pyro orange to warm up the darker areas. It's not too much for me to do now. I just layer some paint, refine it some more a bit. So I go in, I add some highlights, sign my name, and another painting is done. Now take a look at me actually painting the painting. This is about 2.5 hours of me putting my heart on canvas. This painting took me several weeks. It was like in between projects all the time, but I really enjoyed the way it turned out. While this painting video plays, let me break down the process to you in 3 steps. First thing we do is we lay out the colors. With enough practice, painting becomes easier. It's because you begin to know where you're at all the time in the painting. And no matter where you're at, you know what direction you need to take to get to where you need to be. So the mistakes you're making now will serve you later. The second thing we do is blend. In the beginning of the painting, the layers are dramatically different from each other. But when you approach the end of a painting, the layers are just slight tweaks. There's not really anything major that you're doing. It's these little things that make a whole lot of difference. The third thing we do is add details, we refine, and we're done. I know that sounds pretty simple, but it's the process I use every single time. I think it's something you should try. I want you guys to do me a favor. If you enjoyed what you saw, could you please subscribe, like, add a comment, or share with someone you love. If you want to see more artwork, you can visit my blog. There'll be a link in the description. And if you want to further support this content, you can donate. Your donations go to pay for the price of pens, pencils, canvases, paints, and hopefully a tablet. I thank you very much for whatever you leave. It's greatly appreciated. These videos are made in response to questions I get asked all the time, so feel free to ask. You might see an answer in a video. Peace.